Hello, 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 you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dear Black Woman podcast. This is a space where we honor, amplify, and celebrate the multifaceted stories of Black women globally. So today we have the pleasure of welcoming Marie Maloney to our show. Now, Marie is a contributing author to the Dear Black Woman Anthology, a powerful collection of letters, stories, and reflections shared by about 16 immaculately beautiful women. Her personal narrative is a profound exploration of healing, self-discovery, and the journey back to one's true self. Without giving away the beautiful words that she's penned, we're going to delve into the experience that have shaped her, and we're going to bring Anne-Marie right in. Hello, Miss Anne-Marie.
Hello, Miss Cammie. You look beautiful as always. I see goddess vibes.
Thank you. I'm giving goddess vibes today.
Yes. We're honoring the goddess within us.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I had a beautiful day. It's 100 degrees, Cammie.
Listen, you up north. I'm down south, Miss Anne-Marie.
Oh my gosh. So it's 100 degrees and then you go outside and you burn up and then you come inside in the air condition and I'm just like, Lord have mercy, my body's confused.
Hold on, listen, wait. So this a podcast about women. I'm in perimenopause, so my body is real confused.
Your body's real confused. It will be confused for a while, let me tell you. And there are things that you should know that they don't tell you besides the night sweats and the one leg out and the one leg in. Oh, we know all about that, but they don't tell you about you don't sleep through the night sometimes.
No sleep through the night. You wake up, you're soaking wet, like you said, with the night sweats. You might break out in the middle of the day with a whole hot flash while the air conditioner is blowing on you. So you go from cold to hot, then the hot to cold real quick. So.
Yes, you do. And you know what I understand, Cammie? You ever had that auntie or the Nana or Gigi, and they would say anything they want to say?
Yeah.
You get to be in that space where you just say, did I say that?
Listen, I'm there with you. I'm right there at that space because I had to check myself the other day. I was like, Cammie, you said that to somebody.
I'm just like, I promise you, God, I'm a Christian. I promise. It just flew out my mouth before I knew.
Yeah, and it's just, and now you know why. Like I used to say, my grandmama is real good at that. My grandmama just say anything that come up, come out. And I remember she told my cousin she needed to push away from the table one time because she was like, "You just getting bigger and bigger." And I looked at her and I said, "Grandmama." And I swear I got that same spirit.
No, the filters are off.
Yeah. Yes. So let's jump in. Let's talk about the story that you wrote. And what I want to talk about is in your submission for the anthology, you mentioned that a key theme of your story is finding your voice. Can you tell us about the time in your life when you felt voiceless?
Which one? The easy go-to that I hope will resonate with our audience is when you are in a marriage and you're married to someone and they are in control, literally in control. When the decisions that are made about the household is made by one person, your suggestions, your ideas are dismissed.
Yeah.
You feel ignored. You feel, okay, are we doing this together or is this? Mm-hmm. And then when you have the scripture thrown at you, okay, wives, commit. They forgot the second half of that scripture when it said, husbands, love your wives
Yeah.
as you love yourself. But in any event, I felt ignored. I felt I had no voice. And it is not unlike what my parents, it's like learned behavior, is what I
Yeah.
want to say.
Yeah.
Because in some communities, we have where women are not as esteemed or honored for who we are. And so my mama was raised that way, and I was raised that way. And I'm like, this cycle breaks now.
Say it one more time. This cycle breaks now.
Breaks now.
So if that story didn't resonate with nobody else out there, it definitely
Yeah,
resonated with me.
I did not have a voice.
Yeah. So waking up at 45 years old, and one of the things I've been posting on my social media is it took me, I'm on my 45th rotation around the sun, but it took me 45 years to realize that I am the sun.
Yes. Woo! How about that?
Yeah. And in that, finding my own voice and being able to say, this is who I am and this is what I want, when so many people have told me what I needed to do and made the decisions in my life. My father, my husband, business partners, all of that. So what you said truly resonates with me.
And I want to go back to that for a moment, because there are some people who mistake that statement and misunderstand it, because some people will say, okay, that sounds so arrogant, and that's somebody that's full of yourself. But Cammie, when you learn who you are,
yeah,
and when we learn and appreciate that, I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, that the Holy Spirit resides in me. In terms of divinity is within us, within our souls, within our spirits.
Yep.
When you can understand that our physical selves are an expression of God.
Yes.
It is not prideful to say that I am the sun. I am the light. I am the light, and I'm made in the image of my Creator.
Yes.
And when you come to that realization, girl, you learn how to carry yourself just a little different. you learn how to walk a little different. Come on, Angelo. She wrote a poem about it.
Okay, I was getting ready to say, you walk different, you talk different, you look different, everything about you is different.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wholeheartedly believe not only just finding your voice, but finding yourself. And understanding your purpose and understanding who God designed you to be is the most important thing anybody could ever do for themselves.
It is the most important thing. And what I want to add on to that thought, to that notion, is you find yourself many different times in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think, a one and done deal. Not so. So I've had the mindset shifts over the years to understand, if we call ourselves she, take away our names for a moment. She evolves constantly.
Every day.
Every day and every few years. I want to say like every decade.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned 45. I was like, I remember 45. But let's just say I'm a little bit older than 45. just a tad. And what happens is you're a different person.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago. And so listeners, understand that who you are and your values, it's not the end of the story. You have more chapters to live, and you will be surprised at who you can become at the end of those chapters.
And y'all listen to her, because that's the name of her business.
Yes, becoming enough.
Okay. But no, I wholeheartedly believe that, because here I am at 45. I'm not the same person. And as women, we need to understand this. You're not the same person you were at 15. You're not the same person you were at 25. And you're not the same person that you were at 35. I am not that same person. And each year, that's why I say every day, and like you said, every decade almost, you find yourself having to go on this thing of, let me figure out who this person is.
Yes.
That's in front of me right now, because she's grown and she's changed than who she was, 10 years ago.
She's grown and the circumstances have changed.
Yes.
Because when you're young, you're just finding yourself for the first time, and very often listening to what other people tell you should be.
Yeah.
But then some people might have kids, and if you don't have kids, that's okay too. That's the choice. But you're invested in the raising and the caregiving of other people. And then when you get older, I want to take a moment in terms of our caregivers. It's something to see. And since this is Dear Black Woman, I want to talk about the mothers, that to see the person who have raised you.
Yes.
And then see and bear witness to them in their older years and have to give them a bath.
Yes.
I can't think of a more humbling experience than when my mom, and she's passed on, helping her in the shower. And I was like, my Lord, it's moments like that become sacred.
Yeah, I value that now, especially because my mother actually has Parkinson's. So my sister and myself are her caretakers. And even with me being out of town right now, I talk to my mom every day, because literally just the other day we had an incident where she was in the kitchen and she got stuck and she couldn't get up. And I was saying, Mama, you can't keep doing this. You got to let people help you, because you know how we are as Black women too.
Yes. We do everything. We do everything.
Yeah. So, and just getting her to, helping her in the shower, helping her out of the shower. Sometimes she can't wash her back. So being there to support and do that. These are the cycles of life that we go through.
Absolutely. And so we change.
Yeah.
And we evolve according to our life circumstances. And so now that I find myself, I'm an empty nester, I'm divorced, Mama has passed on. There were questions a few years ago that became, now what do I do? I'm still working, I'm still employed. I've launched my business. I'm writing books. I'm doing this and that. But that's what I do. That's not who I am.
That's not who you
And there's a difference.
Yeah. So your letter in the book touches on early childhood memories. How have your relationships with your parents sort of influenced the woman that you are today?
I wanted to understand my parents, because just growing up, I thought a lot of things were not fair. And I'm the baby of 5.
Okay.
So I witnessed and saw some things that, okay, that's not fair. And people always say the baby is spoiled. I beg to differ.
Now, let me ask you this. Are your siblings brothers?
I have brothers and sisters.
Okay. When you say that things weren't fair, do you think it was gender-wise, or was it just sort of just everything?
I would say more like everything. I'd say more like personality.
Okay.
My oldest sister, well, Mama was close to her because my oldest sister would help the rest of us, you know. But the second sister, she was the one who's most like Mama. you know.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna backtrack on what I just said because the boys got away with some things.
That's why I listen. Let me tell you something. I know we are Black mothers. I know the community. So when you said
Yeah.
it, the first thing I said was, okay, was it the brothers that got away with it, or was
Yeah.
it everybody else? Because I know how we raise our boys.
Yeah, they got away with some things, but I have to say my brothers have also gone through.
Okay.
They've gone through some of the most difficult of circumstances and struggles of being a Black male and being part of our community. So when I make the statement that some things weren't fair, is it seemed like mom or dad, they had a special relationship with each one of my siblings.
Mm.
But when it came to me, the unfairness that I feel in terms of my perception, it's almost like they didn't have any energy left for him,
I was
Marie.
just getting ready to say, you were the baby. They didn't have anything left. How
They
many of
didn't
you
have,
were? Yeah. How many of you were you total?
there were five, and they didn't
Okay.
have anything left, but also I was the compliant child. Let me
Yeah.
tell you something about the compliant. We're obedient. We do everything that you tell us to do. You
Yeah.
know, walk
Yeah.
over, change the antenna on the TV.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're going to do, right? So I didn't come with drama.
Yeah.
I didn't come with things that needed to
Strife.
be
Yeah.
strife and things that needed to be solved. And because I didn't come with that, I was kind of, quietly in the background. And so that's where I get that statement from. I'm just like, I want attention too.
I get it. I get that. I get that. I get exactly what you're saying because it adds to the air of the bad seed gets the most attention most of the time. And if you got
Correct.
a lot of drama and stuff going on, those are the ones that your parents pay attention to, as opposed to the child that's being compliant, that's doing what you're telling them to do. They don't get that attention because, and I'm just going to say it, most likely parents feel like you can take care of yourself. You
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
They feel like you can take care of
Yeah.
yourself, and that's the safe one. That's the compliant child. Don't have to worry about her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When you said it, I understood it already. Now, you describe in your story a moment from your childhood sort of involving your mother and a burn on her arm where you sensed there was more to the story than what she was letting on. How did witnessing her quiet strength in that moment sort of shape your understanding of pain and resilience?
Well, I want to thank you for bringing me back because this connects to the question you asked previously. And that is, my mom didn't complain. She absorbed a lot. She went through a lot. And, looking back in this day and age, we would consider that to be abuse or what have you. But my mom stayed in the marriage. Okay. And I used to think, I would listen to my peers, and peers are always talking about, well, this isn't going to happen to me. That isn't going to happen to me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. My mom had 5 children to feed. She had 5 children to cover. And also there's this whole notion of shame in the community. She came up in a generation where to be separate and divorced was shameful.
Yes.
And also not necessarily knowing what her rights are. So before people start judging and passing what they would do in their situation, you have to walk a mile in the shoes of somebody who's going through it. And how it's impacted me now as a grown woman all these many years later is my mother felt that she did not have a voice. And here is her baby girl who has a voice. And so when I speak, I'm speaking because There are women who cannot speak, whether that's through fear or they've not yet reached their tipping point,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't see a way out. I am here to say that I found a way out. I found my voice and I can speak. I want to be careful that I honor my mother.
Yeah.
Because her being quiet, there's strength in that too.
Absolutely. And let's call a spade a spade. In
Mm-hmm.
those days, it was not like she could literally flee and be okay. She
Correct.
she had, and this is where we tell women there's a little bit difference in some of the stuff that we're saying. There is a strength in staying, but in those days, in those situations, she couldn't leave and take care of her children.
She could not. And that's where the quiet strength came in terms of she did take care of her children. She never abandoned us. She never left us. And the other part of that story is she's from the Caribbean. She's a nurse. My mother came, let's talk about her courage. She came to this country so that we would have opportunity, so that we would have education, so that we can follow our own dreams. When she came to this country, she came without us. So she had to literally have all of us stay with relatives, different relatives, because no one was going to take all five. So we were in different places. And when she was settled, she sent for us, And so mom could have come to this country and say, okay, I'm done. She could have walked away. She provided for us to come back, to come with her, to join her. And then she honored her commitment to take care of us.
I love that. I love it. And to be honest with you, it sounds like you found your voice to make sure that your mother's voice would also be heard.
In hindsight, in 2020, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's how God works.
Yeah.
You don't know why you're going through some dilemma or thing.
But because even in you describing your childhood and you describing how you were as a child, not complaining, being complacent, those are some very similar traits to what you also just described about your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it comes a point where you have a tipping point and you turn the corner.
Yeah. So even though your mom didn't have a voice and she couldn't leave and she couldn't walk away, you found your strength and your voice through that as well. And when it was time for you to walk away, you had the strength and the voice to walk away.
Yes. And it was I who walked away. So you are correct.
Yeah. Now, in your story, there is a touching and yet very painful memory you recount about your father and the promise of a bicycle. How did that experience with a broken promise sort of impact your ability to trust others, even yourself growing up?
You believe when you're a child, you believe what somebody tells you.
Okay. You're right.
I wanted this bicycle, and oh my gosh, everybody on my block had a bike.
Yeah.
And I wanted my own bicycle. And I was like, Daddy's going to get me a bike. Daddy's going to get me a bike. And that promise, once it was broken, it impacts you and you have to do some healing from it. Okay. So I don't want to make this sound like it's easy because I did the inner child work.
Yes.
And I did some inner child work, and I'll shout out Melissa Crawford, who started me on my journey a few years ago is I go back and you're cautious about what people tell you, what people promise you. And so it's one of those scabs, one of those wounds that you hold up.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's at the front of your mind,
But
it's at the back
it's
of your mind.
subconsciously back there. Yeah.
It never goes away. I mean, somebody promised you something, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when they promise you something and it doesn't come to bear, then your mind starts playing with you. Well, you see, I told you you couldn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
I told you that this was going to fall apart. And then you start doubting yourself. That's the impact. And the work I've had to do was to separate the outcome or the situations of things from who I am as a person. So that didn't work out. But guess what?
That didn't change who you are.
It didn't change who I was. And that doesn't mean that I can't trust myself.
Yes.
This relationship didn't work out. But guess what? There's lessons from the relationship.
Yeah. And I want to take a moment to pause so everybody can hear something. I don't know if you all heard, but when we talked, Anne-Marie said she had to do the work. And I need you all to understand that that part is important. Whether it's the shadow work, the inner child work, it's the healing work, there is work that has to be done. It's not just going to come together easily.
And I want to distinguish the different types of work, because I've had traditional counselors, psychologists, and God bless them, because they were part of my journey, part of my story. Again, this is a part of me that used to believe, do it once, you're done, and you're healed. Wrong.
No.
Okay. With talk therapy, you're able to purge, if you would. And there is healing, there's benefit to that. I went through talk therapy and spent, maybe 15 months with a psychologist doing the business, right? I have to say, it is the healers, the people who call themselves healers, the people who are tapped in, have an extra sense or divinity or a knowing, or they have a gift.
It's the spiritual connection.
They are on a whole different level.
It's the spiritual connection.
Okay,
I can't wait for you all to meet Dr. Makiba. She was actually on Mika's podcast the other day.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna send you the link so you can listen to the episode. You might want to have her on yours as well.
Absolutely.
But that's what they talked about. And it's crazy because this is, and Mika tell you, I'm working while I'm doing her podcast.
Yes.
But this particular interview, I sat down and I was listening to it like,
exactly. It's a whole different level.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of people in my life, Coda Phillips, love you, Lorenz Kingsley, I'm working with her now. It is people who call themselves healers. It's not just a journal prompt.
No, it's
not as simple as that.
No.
It is people speaking into you, people picking up your spirit and your spirituality. And it's not in conflict with Jesus, because I used to avoid that for a long time, because that's what we were told.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you got to remember, we were taught certain beliefs. And what I've learned is, it's actually, when I say the 10 dimensions of wellness, there are various dimensions to all of this.
Oh my God. And so that is the work. Doing the inner child work is different, working with a healer than when I was with the psychologist. But anyway, I could talk for days about healers. They are
That's
just simply magnificent.
Let's move on a little bit. Now, you
Okay.
attended Howard University. Now,
HU.
yeah, now this is a pivotal experience for all of us. Anybody that went to a HBCU, even just anybody that attended college away from home. How did your matriculating at this mecca sort of contrast with your time at a predominantly white university, and how did it shape your identity as a Black woman?
Howard University was and is everything. I went to
Say it again, Miss Anne Marie.
University HU was and is everything. We are the Mecca.
Yeah.
We are the Mecca. I would say I started college at 16.
Wow.
Not 18, 16. I skipped 2 grades. Starting college at a predominantly white university, I was in a core group in a cohort, and we traveled together. I didn't have any friends in that cohort. I didn't know how to navigate college.
Can I ask you how many other Black people were around you in that cohort?
I was the only one.
Why did I know that was going to be your answer?
I was the only one. I was the only one. And this comes from a high school. By the way, my high school counselor told me I'd never make it. I'd never get in. I remember his remarks to me.
That's crazy because you graduated early and skipped 2 grades.
That part.
Like, I'm sorry, what? Somebody told you what? Somebody said what to you?
That part. So on a side note, parents, please advocate for your children.
Absolutely.
But getting back to the story, in college at 16, I was the only one. Let's say the cohort might have been 35, 40 students. And I call it a cohort because we travel to different classes together, 5 classes. It burst my world, for example, is I'm a writer, have always been scribbling in marble notebooks since I was a toddler, and thought I was prepared for college English. And when I received my paperback with red marks everywhere, that was a crush to my self-esteem. No one to process that with, no one to talk to. Where do I go? The professor did have mercy on me because I did reach out to her for some assistance, but the cohort, they had their cliques. I wasn't in any study group or anything. I came to Howard because of my big brother. My big brother, Andrew, was already at Howard. So when he graduated in May, I transferred into Howard. It was when I visited him once during homecoming, I had never, ever, ever in my life seen that many brown people of all walks of life. It dispelled every single image I had or was fed or was told about Black people.
Yes.
Intelligent people, Black people who were styling, fashionistas, Black people. Oh my God, there was nobody, in terms of poverty and I was just like, they weren't drug addicts and so on. It was the first time in my life, and they were concentrated. And when I'm walking into buildings called Elaine Locke after the philosopher, Blackburn Center, or the Frederick Douglass building for a political science course.
Such a stark contrast to what you have been walking through.
I'm walking into buildings named after people who look like me.
Yes.
So in terms of shaping my identity, it let me know what was possible. It let me know that we can be intellectuals. When you study W.E. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, we can be intellectuals. And so I was not a unicorn. I'm not an anomaly. Like I have a love for reading, and Lorraine Hansberry is on the curriculum. Hello, somebody. Let's talk.
Listen, the thing about it is we're taught that we're not intellectual, but we are actually the intellectuals. We research, we crave knowledge. Those are the things that drive us as people. That's how we build. That's how we grow. That's how we keep ascending and moving forward, is the knowledge that we are. And it's almost in our system to go out there and obtain knowledge and then come back and use it and figure out ways to make it better.
It's in our DNA because of what we've been denied historically. And then here's where the magic is, and it cannot be replicated. When it's been denied and you forge ahead and you forge out of that and you make a way out of no way.
Yeah.
Who is that but God? And when you do that with God, you can't replicate.
No. Yeah, you can't.
You can't replicate our genius.
Listen, they out here trying to stifle it. They trying to duplicate it. They trying to appropriate it. Like you said, they want to take it from us. You can never duplicate it. You can't. Never. All you can do is imitate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about you said that even amidst your success at Howard, you sort of wrestled with some questions about belonging and self-worth. Could you speak to the internal battles that you faced during what many would have perceived as a very triumphing period in your life?
I wish I was like my nieces. I have a couple of nieces who went to Howard. And when they went to Howard, they're confident, okay? They walking on campus and they fitted into the group. But, I tell you a story. That Howard, in terms of the dormitories, the ladies stayed in the quad. And in the quad, there's a wall, and a concrete wall, brick and concrete. The fellas used to sit on that wall. And they're watching every honey that walks in and out the door. And simple old Brooklyn me, I don't have any style. I don't know what to put on. And at that point in my life, I cared, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what to put on. I don't know how to make things pop and work and do all of the things. So I felt imposter syndrome. Is that the term?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
I felt like, oh my God, I didn't feel like I belonged. And I just didn't fit. And the sororities and fraternities, the Greek life, I wanted to fit, but I didn't fit there either. It didn't seem that I had a group to fit. And because of that, it led to one of my decisions. And in fact, that's how I met my ex-husband, is because he was the opposite of me. He was loud and brash, and he was the life of the party, and he was in student government. And here I am, the quiet one. I didn't have a place to fit. So I attached to him.
And there you look, and I'm gonna tell you something that that's also another way of you stifling your own voice.
Yes. And I was still a child because I started at the predominantly white institution at 16, transferred to Howard
where your voice was stifled there.
My voice was stifled there.
Yeah.
And then my voice, as much as I love Howard, that stifling though came from inside.
Yeah.
That was learned behavior at that point. And so that's how it impacted my identity. I didn't think I was worth. I didn't know my own worth.
Because you were definitely worth it. You were a talented, intellectual individual. You were definitely worth it.
Yes, thank you.
Now, the metaphor of salmon swimming upstream is a powerful image that you use to describe your period of struggle. Can you elaborate on what it felt like to be pushing so hard, yet feeling like you were moving in circles?
When you push hard for your marriage, but you seem to be the only one working for it. When you push hard in the workplace and people, it's not that they discount you, but they not exactly sure how to value what it is. Like when you don't fit into a box and they want to put you in a box, but I've learned a long time ago, I don't fit into a box. And so people are unsure of how to interact with you. It's like you're pushing upstream. You're constantly working. It goes back to that old adage, you have to be twice as good to get half as much. And then it's just lifing, because we all go through situations in our lives where there's illnesses in our families. We go through death, where we lose people. And it's just lifing and pushing through and making a way. Not even talking about the bankruptcies, because you remember when the banks collapsed in 2010, around that time, 2009, and you're in danger of losing your house. So you have housing insecurity, you have financial insecurity, and the weight of these issues are on you. It's like pushing upstream, and that's what salmon do in their lifetime. They push and push. They're going in the opposite direction. And that, as Black women, we have to fight. Okay. So the thing that just popped in my mind is Oprah Winfrey's line of Sophia.
And listen, when you said all my life I had to fight.
That line just popped in. I was just like, oh my.
But it's funny that you say that, because that line is so prevalent in that movie, and so many women know that line because of the fight that they've had to have in their life. As a Black woman, I listened to you, and what I was hearing you say is something very similar to a conversation I literally just had, where I said, I don't want to fight with anybody else anymore.
Yes. Like Tina Turner. I don't care. I was like, I don't care who's wrong or right anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to fight.
I don't want to fight anymore. Tina Turner, queen.
Yeah. I don't want to fight. And I think a lot of people don't understand what that means. So it also, in this what we call going through this change, one of the things that has become very important in my life is my peace. So when I walk into a situation where I'm going to have to fight, I'm walking away. Not out of fear, not out of, oh my God, I can't do this. No, it's just because I'm choosing my peace over everything.
I've got a story for that, Cammie. I'm living in this 2-story, beautifully brick home, 4 bedrooms, skylights. Everybody comes by the house. It's gorgeous. We built it from the ground up, so on and so forth. And I write about it. I won't give it away. But when I left, people kept saying, girl, how can you leave? Girl, stay back and fight. I wanted my peace.
You didn't have to listen. You don't have to explain to me. You ain't never gonna hear me ask you, say, why did you leave? I know why you left. Okay?
Oh my God. There are so many people say, and to the women who it's not the right thing to do for every woman, because I know there are some women, they fight to the death to get half. and
Yeah.
to get all the things that they're entitled to, and the Social Security benefits, yada yada yada. There was a point where I understood that I was dying. I was dying spiritually, mentally, and in some places of me, I was already gone. And my spirit, there was something in my spirit says, I want to live. And I could not live, and I knew he would not leave. And I said, I don't care what happens tomorrow. I don't know what happens tomorrow. I can't do this anymore. I can't. So, and what's interesting is in the divorce proceedings, I think he was shocked.
Yeah. They all listen. Let me tell you, they think you're gonna fight them for everything, so they prepare to
Yes.
fight with you because that's the nature of what they're going to do with you. But when they realize you don't care about none of that stuff, you cool, you straight. It's like, wait a minute, what?
I took my power back. He
Yeah.
was unable to manipulate me anymore.
Yeah, that resonates with me. That was the whole premise of the Dear Black Woman book, period.
Yeah.
Is I walked away from a situation that I absolutely know was killing me. And I had to walk away from everything. And when I say everything,
Everything.
5-bedroom house in rural Texas, okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful home, 3 cars. I'm a chef. I walked away and left stuff that appliances and knives that I had collected prior to
Yes.
my
Yeah.
relationship. But my peace of mind was the only thing that was important to me, because I recognized the fact that I had spent days, weeks, months curled up in the middle of my sofa crying. And I was losing a sense of who I was as a person.
And you curled up in a ball, and you're just rocking, and you don't know who you are. And so for the women who are staying, is one thing I want people to know, and it's a phenomenal also in the South when we talk about status, is that when you drive by and you look at the big, huge, fancy houses, people would say, oh, that couple's doing wonderful and marvelous and so on and so forth. And I, through my life experience, understood the fact of the matter is you see that beauty on the outside, but you don't know what the people are going through
On
on
the
the
inside.
inside. And we
Yeah.
wear masks and we wear facades and we have to keep up our status.
We dress up in pretty clothes and put on
Yeah.
makeup and put on smiles and say everything is okay.
Okay. Oh, I'm blessed and
I'm
highly
so
favored.
blessed to have all of the things that I have accomplished and achieved in life.
And
That
meanwhile, you're going through hell.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for my partner being right here with me to help me. That's what I have to say. But when I get back home and I wash off the makeup, I take off the wigs and take off all the pretty clothes and get out the nice, expensive cars, I'm going right back to my sofa.
Yes, curled up in a ball. And one of the things, like I didn't talk to our shared friends and so on and so forth, is because he's still the father of my children.
That part.
And I don't want it to be perceived that, we're bashing men. Not at all. In fact, I hope one day that I can be married again. I have that desire. I have that heart for it since I've gone through the process of doing the work and healing. It is just a facet of life that many of us experience. And just like Tyler Perry's, latest movie, Straw, and there's so much controversy around it. And why is he always portraying men this and that way? Well, it's not for everybody. It focuses on a particular life experience for a certain segment of the population. But one story doesn't speak for all of us because we're not monolithic. So I want to be sure that our menfolk understand that we love you. And we know that there are some good ones out there. We know
Absolutely.
that there are honorable men and husbands and fathers. We love you. We love you. And we see you and appreciate you. So thank you.
And
I want our men to know.
and that is such a beautiful thing to say. Thank you for even recognizing them. But I want to point out something too, how you said that everybody's story is different.
Mm-hmm.
Let's circle back to the fact that yes, everybody's story is different, which is why we're doing this anthology.
Yes.
Yeah. We are giving different voices the opportunity to be heard. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you said that, that really was like, oh my God, Miss Avery, you're right.
And so when you read the book, you can pull from here, pull from there,
Yeah.
and okay, this person, this is how they handled it. Maybe that's something I never thought about doing before. There could be a lot of mindset shifting after you read this book.
And I want men to understand this book isn't about bashing men in any way. This is actually a book that probably will help you start your healing journey as well, especially if you're surrounded by an immense amount of Black women.
Absolutely, because in likelihood you've been raised by a Black woman.
Thank you.
And so when you have your trauma, and this goes back to even my father and to my ex-husband and to many men out there as well, you too have been told how you should be and operate and move in society. And then when trauma is passed from generation to generation, and so when you understand and you hear things from our brand, Dear Black Woman, rather than dismiss it, how about you just go through it? How about you go get some, go do your inner child work too.
Yeah. And see, and that's funny because I'm a boy mom. My son is 26 years old. And he's like, Mama, all you ever do is stuff for women. And I said, listen, let me explain something to you. I got to heal the mothers. The mothers have to be healed because they're the ones giving birth to the children. Yeah, they're the ones that's escorting in another generation year after year after year, month after month. These women are out here giving birth, literally, if not to physical children, to the idea of different businesses. So yes, I do a lot for the women, but by also doing a lot for the women, it is trickling down to the men.
Yes, and Cammie, I'm trying to look up what the author's name is. I want to say his first name is Jason. That doesn't help a lot of people. So I'm here trying to Google, but he has something for the men, and then he is focused on the men on their hurt wounds. So if I find that name, I'll share it with you. But I'm blanking in terms of what I'm typing.
That's okay. When you get it, just text it to me. Yeah, just text it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's switch up a little bit. In your book, in your story, you write about God's winks. And those are moments of grace and protection. And I absolutely love the way you said that. Could you share one of those moments that actually reassured you that you were on the right path, even when things around you seemed difficult?
God winks in the way sometimes his angels or people come and they support you, and sometimes they support you out of the blue. And the support comes when you're least expecting it. Yeah. As women, we're that fish swimming upstream. So we're in the struggle and we're doing this. A God wink is like I had a church member to, she bought me a couch. So I stopped sleeping on the floor. I didn't ask her for that. She came to see how I was doing. She had nowhere to sit. And so I was able to sleep on a couch. A God wink is when friends invite you over during the holidays, because holidays can sometimes be hard when you're going through stuff.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, you remember you were talking about crawling up in a ball on your couch. And when you lose your family or you're an empty nester, let's just bring it, because, the divorce has been 12, 13 years ago. So it's been a while. You have to find some moments for community, for belonging. And that's the through line through my life in terms of where do I belong. And a God wink is receiving that invitation from someone. Come on over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing such and such at the house. Come on over. So the message I have for people is check on your strong friends.
We keep saying that. We keep saying it. And I'm getting to the point where I'm telling people, don't call me your strong friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't say I'm strong. As much as a compliment as you think that is, I'm
Right.
learning that it's not. And by you calling me strong, you're also dismissing my feelings.
Yes. And I think sometimes I have that reaction with the word resilient.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
am resilient because I've had to survive. I am resilient because I had to find a way. It's either find a way or die.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I want to move away from scarcity. I want to move away from survival. I'm evolving. The woman that I am now, I'm operating from a place of abundance. And that doesn't necessarily mean wealth or money or how much money you have invested. A place of abundance versus scarcity, to be able to say to myself, I am of value, I'm worthy, and I'm not desperate. The last situationship, I'm calling it, not a relationship. I would, what a God wink is? This morning after I did my walk in meditation, I was like, thank you for leaving. Thank you for
I
leaving.
caught that one, Miss Anne Marie.
Let
Yes.
me tell you, let me give you the backstory to it, because I'm so wrapped up into wanting to love this person that when he left, I had to look inward and reflect at the woman that I am and the woman that I was becoming. I would not have done that if we were still together. I have had to sit with myself, and I have had to ask myself the questions, why did I ignore the red flags? And it reveals because there are some things that were being presented to me that I needed, that I wanted. And I'm beyond the superficial,
Yeah.
attraction and
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
There are some things there. And at the moment of that decision making, those things had a stronger pull than the red
And
flags.
yep.
But because I'm sitting by myself and had to reflect, I'm like, okay, this is why I did that. So no, I'm not going to do it anymore.
You listen. When I say you preaching to the choir, you know you preaching to the choir over here.
Yes.
Because I had to literally sit down for this past year and it's been a year, which is why this birthday celebration has been just as important as it, to me as any other. It has literally been 1 year, and I had to sit with myself for an entire year and ask myself, how did you end up in the position that you were
that you
in.
did. Yeah, that part, that question. How did I end up here?
Yeah.
Intelligent, discerning,
Yeah.
discernment. You have my criteria, my
Yeah.
checklist. How
Yeah.
did I end up?
Yeah. Yeah. How did I end up? And then and here's where the play on words. You're used to being such a strong, resilient woman, but in this moment, you were not. You were
Yeah.
vulnerable. You were seeking love. You were looking for
Mm-hmm.
the love that you thought that was going to be given to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how we end up in
Oh,
those situations. The
yeah.
problem is that here's what I've always told women is you have to be open, but you also have to be careful because sometimes what's presented is what you need as opposed to what God wants for you to have.
And
And
in
you're
that,
thinking on a human level, this is what
mm-hmm.
I need on a human level. But on a spiritual level, it's not what you needed.
It's not what you need because it's almost like building your life around pain
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to building your life around healing. So there are two things that I would say to listeners, and that is please avoid being judgmental
Yes.
because we so quick to pass judgment on somebody else's choices.
Yes.
And I go back to what I said before. Until you walked a mile in your shoes and understand how they came to that place, reserve your judgment. You can think what you want, but don't tear that sister down.
Because you have no clue.
You have no idea.
No
And if
clue.
anything, that sister needs a friend and needs a
Yeah.
shoulder. So don't be judgmental. I had a second thing, but I can't think of it right now.
Now, your journey of healing has also included rediscovering activities that you loved as a child, like riding a bike.
Mhm.
What do you think reconnecting with your inner child or quote unquote baby girl has been so integral to your heal? Why do you think it's been so integral to your healing process?
Children, for me at least, they represent joy. Children, they want to have fun.
Yeah.
They want to laugh. And most of my life, I have operated from survival, and doing what other people tell me to do. And most of my life, I'm the compliant child, right? So I'm the one
Right.
that you depend on, the responsible one. If you give me a job, I'm the one that's going to get it done. And all of these are wonderful qualities to have. Don't get me wrong. Keep them because everybody needs a person like that. But it came at the expense that I didn't know how to have fun. And so reconnecting to a child, I hand dance. And for those of you who don't know what that is, think Detroit ballroom or swing or Chicago stepping and what have you. When I'm on that floor, whether or not I am elegant or I make a mistake, I am at a level, an energy level where it's pure joy.
And it's called hand dancing.
Hand dancing. It's in the DMV area. It's called hand dancing. And so it's equivalent to swing, West Coast
Yeah.
swing, Detroit ballroom, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is going to be my final question for you.
Okay.
There was a powerful statement in your letter. I am my own first love, which needs to be tattooed somewhere.
On the butterfly on the arm.
Yes. What advice would you give to other Black women who are on the journey of learning to prioritize themselves and becoming their own first love?
The advice I would give, I would say, learn who you are. learn what your values are, what your beliefs are, because you don't want somebody to tell you what to believe. You don't want someone to control you or force you or be in charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you learn who you are, then you can be in relationship with others. And relationship is not just romantic, it can be friendships, it could be parent, child, or family, or what have you. Learn who you are and why you believe what you do, you know. um, and it's a belief system. You have, it's easy for me to describe it in examples, like generations grew up, okay, we're going to stay with one job, get the gold watch, and retire. Well, that doesn't work in 2025. Okay, so who told you that you had to stay at one job? That's what I mean by a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
Who told you that you couldn't have multiple streams of income? You know, that was a big wow for me. Who told you you couldn't retire in cycles? Something I just learned the other day, that sometimes you can retire and then come back into the workforce and do it again.
Yeah, retire again. Yes.
Yeah. Who told you all the things you believe? So as you're learning yourself, be aware of that. And that's where the self-love comes in. And that's where your choices are made from. That's where your choices are made from.
I love that. Now, Miss Anne Marie, I'm going to drop off the screen for a moment, but I want you to tell people where they can find you, your website, your social media, all of that good information.
Okay. Well, everyone, I am host of the About This Life podcast. So I would like you to find me anywhere that podcasts are streaming. I'm on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, and so on and so forth. My media handles are at About This Life _Anne Marie. That's where you can find me. But I would also love for you to follow me or to join my community, Becoming Enough. I am on Facebook. Yes, I'm still on Facebook, maybe Substack one day. It's a community where there are guest speakers and we talk about different things that impact our lives. So find me on Facebook, Becoming Enough. Of course, the Dear Black Woman brand is coming out. I'm so happy to be part of a co-author in this book in terms of learning my story. I also have another book out where I write poetry, Raw Motherhood. The author of that book is Ilana Fernandez, and I have a poem in there. So I would like you to find me on IG at About This Life _Anne Marie. Thank you so much, Cammie, for the opportunity.
Thank you for everything. And you know that you've been rocking with me for a very long time.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
You inspire me. You've inspired some of the moves that we're making with this anthology. So thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you continue to do. So
it's been my pleasure, and it's just wonderful to see who all of the women, all 16 of us, who we are becoming.
Yeah. And let me just say, from this side of it, it's really amazing because I've read all of you all's stories, or at least the first drafts of them, and I got to get to know each of you individually. And to be honest with you, I can't wait for all of you to meet and get to know each other. Like sometimes and then I have to remind myself, Cammie, you got to be quiet. You can't tell everything. So
yeah. But if I can give a plug, please, for my podcast, About This Life, because I talked to some of the women on the podcast. I have like 3 episodes.
So y'all go check out Miss Anne Marie's podcast, About This This Life. And you will see some of the co-authors on there as well. She's done group panels with quite a few of the co-authors. So yes, About This Life podcast. That's Miss Anne-Marie.
Yes.
And did you give them your website?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Make sure. All right. Well, Miss Anne-Marie, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for coming on and doing this. And as always, it's a pleasure to have you anywhere.
It is my pleasure. I love it, Cammie. Thank you for making this a movement. Thank you. We're gonna
thank
help.
you. I'm gonna say
help some women.
Thank you for believing in me, and thank you for supporting me. So thank you for that, because that right there means more to me than anything in the world. And I always talk about how you have been one of my first and main supporters since I popped off Dear Black Woman. So I am so grateful for you, and so grateful for your support, and just for believing in all of the stuff that I do. So thank you.
I believe in you, and I want to thank you for your energy, your enthusiasm, and your willingness to move forward this movement, because it's about healing and showing up to be our best selves.
Absolutely. And that's all I want for us. That's all I want for Black women.
Yes.
So thank you again.
Amen.
Listen, you guys, thank you for joining me and Miss Anne-Marie today on this incredible yet vulnerable and profound journey. Her story is a testament to the power of reclaiming one's narrative and the strength found in community, and the beauty of returning home to oneself. To our listeners, I just want to say, I highly encourage you to read Miss Anne-Marie's full letter in the Dear Black Woman Anthology. Also, please, as she said, go find her on IG, join her Facebook group, listen to her podcast About That Life. It is phenomenal. This has been another episode of the Dear Black Woman podcast. Join us next time as we continue to share the stories that empower, heal, and connect us all. So until then, be well, you guys.